And here we go into Game 3 of Tang Zhang Peng versus TKAG. Of course, Games 1 and 2 were obviously split. That's why we have a Game 3, in case you couldn't figure that out. And apparently PubDrain's dad is super strict. So they need to hurry up, because what the fuck, he's got to go. Oh no. Hurry up with the bans and the picks. I agree. This banning stage is, they've often taken way too long. A couple of games I just bust right through them, and I don't have enough time to talk about them, but other times I'm sitting here going, there's something to talk about, because everybody's using their full 20 seconds on each ban and each pick, and Jesus Christ. As apparently TZP is really interested in not playing anymore, so don't even know what they're doing here. Banning stage has started, of course, with the Keeper of the Forest first ban from Kindman here, and we're going to see his second here. So Keeper, once again, typically seen in the forest, used to be a suicide, but with the hurt he took to the armor, he's no longer really a suicide, as the Pesty second ban comes out, and once again we see the Legion side banning Pestilence. So apparently he's not good enough the first pick, but they are concerned about the Hellborn taking him first. Interesting there that he's really consistently projected as a second overall pick, and not first overall or third overall, so Legion does tend to ban him. Hellborn bans are Engineer and Wretched Hag. Engineer would have made a ton of sense earlier, but once again, we've seen him sort of fall off a little bit as other supports, namely Rhapsody, have come up in prominence. Wretched Hag, I think that's a good ban pretty much no matter what, because you've got a hero that can do way too much. You can run her in any lane, essentially, and have her do well. She carries, she does burst damage. She's a ganker. Just extremely strong hero. Definitely first pick material, so it's understandable why Hellborn would want to ban that out. As apparently they're looking for Inkling to be a rigger. It's really interesting. So this game might end soon, as it looks like PubDrain might actually have to leave. Moving in the picking stage real fast though, Grinix, Master of Arms on the Legion side so far, so obviously going to be a suicide Grinix. Moa we've seen in a couple of different roles. As usual, he is reasonably versatile, so that's a good pick for that reason. I don't feel like he excels in any of his roles, but if it's early on in the draft and you're not really sure where you want to go yet, having a Moa pickup really isn't a bad decision. But in the same vein, I think I might prefer a Torturer, just because I think he's a better support than Moa is. Well, maybe not, but he's definitely a better carry than Moa is. So if you're going to go for a versatile hero, then Torturer might be a little better bet. Maybe even a Witch Slayer or a Pyromancer, or one of those heroes that can fulfill multiple roles as a support or as a short laner solo. Pyro maybe not so much as a solo or Torturer, but Witch Slayer definitely likes to be solo, or as a farmer. And there is the Torturer pick, followed immediately by Bubbles. So over here on the Hellborn side, we have Solar Torturer so far. Both heroes that can perform in the support or in a farming role, so there's not too much they've given up at this point. We usually see Solar as a farmer. He's a solid support, I think, but he's a little stronger in that carry role, and Torturer, I think, honestly, I really do think he is stronger as carry, but he is certainly good enough as a support to be a top-tier support. And I expect we'll see Torturer in that support role, as well as a Kraken as a suicide. Could be mid, could be solo short lane, or dual short lane for that matter. But I would expect, given the lineup they've got here, that the Solar will be solo short and the Kraken will be suicide. Presumably with a Torturer middle as a dual lane, possibly as a babysit on Solar. We've seen that occasionally. We've also seen solo Solars, which has worked out well sometimes and not worked out so well sometimes. So where Torturer is going to end up is a bit of a question, I think, at this point. But both Kraken and Solar are pretty definitely in that suicide and short lane respectively. The Bubbles pick on the Legion side, that's pretty much not going to be a suicide Bubbles because they have the Grinix. I assume that's going to be a mid Bubbles, which makes the Master of Arms as the solo short laner, or as the short laner, a little less likely. I think that's going to be a support master in a babysit situation bot. So I think they're going to look to pick up a short lane carry here, and I think TZP has picked up on that. First ban Moon Queen, I expect to see multiple bans on short laners, although that rally doesn't really qualify. Interesting that they ran rally last game on TKAG, and it did not do particularly well, so curious that they've decided to ban that out. It really was the only hero that did well in that game, but even then, he was at 350 gold per minute or so, so solid farm, nothing particularly spectacular. As the Dampier is the final ban here from Hellborn, certainly makes sense as a short laner, why they would want to get rid of that hero. Tempest, Ophelia, Parasite bans here from Legion's side, so making absolutely sure that no junglers are left available. A little interesting because they could have picked up jungler first and left none for the other team, but it's pretty obvious they're not interested in running a jungler on either side in this game as the CD comes out for the first pick out of the second banning stage. That's certainly going to be their short laner. Could be a suicide. We've seen Joseph Pham from BMG run that corrupted CD suicide, but considering they have Grinix and Bubbles, who are both better suicides, and Grinix, who is played pretty much exclusively that suicide role, I don't expect to see a suicide corrupted here. I expect it to be a short lane corrupted with a Master of Arms. The problem, I think, really with these jungle bans is that now they're sort of forced to run Bubbles in a duel. They could run a tri-lane. That's what's going to happen here. So Legion's going to run a defensive tri-lane here in the short lane. Put Bubbles mid and put Grinix top, because Bubbles is not a dual laner. I don't think I've ever seen Bubbles run in a dual lane except in a situation where he just gets destroyed and he needs help. But I don't think I've ever seen a Bubbles run intentionally as a dual laner. And he's sitting on HoN B, aka the HoN Jesus right here, so, and he is their mid player, so I assume that's going to be a mid Bubbles solo. As Behemoth is the last pick. Interesting, bit of a risky pick there. I might have preferred something like an Aluna or a Witch Slayer. Both of those have good lockdown and good damage. Behemoth's a bit hit or miss. As a melee support, he can't really harass very effectively, and it's going to be difficult for him to get up in there and get auto attack damage off. And his Fissure, if you land a good one, it will get you kills. If you land a bad one, it will prevent kills. So I think if you're going to run a tri-lane here, and it's pretty obvious they are, that you should get a hero that's a little more consistent, a little more reliable, a little more predictable than Behemoth. I assume we're going to see good Fissure Stones because this is a pro level game, so you know that's probably going to be done. But we'll see. I'm not a huge fan of that pick, really. The only other benefit I can see is that he can at some point break off for a bit and get some farm, get his portal key. So there will be space for him to farm that up, and if there was a jungler, there might not be that. So to that extent, there is some value there. On the Hellborn side, we see Glacius and Devourer picked up. Glacius we haven't seen in forever. Used to be consistently seen as a support. I am going to say I don't like him because of the simple problem of... Oh shoot, I gotta turn on some pause again. Sorry. Go into this console real fast. And I'm just taking all these words to make sure that if pauses go out, we don't actually have to sit through them. Anyway, so that Glacius, we don't really see him too much anymore. He's a decent enough support, I think, but the problem I have with him really is that Immobilize is not a ability that I think is really helpful. I mean, like, you need a legit stun more than anything. And having an Immobilize, even though it is quite long and it is quite helpful, there's ways to get out of it, especially, you know, Bubbles got Shell Surf. I believe Shadow Step should be able to get Grinix out. And then the most annoying thing in the world, of course, it's happened to me a couple of times where I was playing Glacius against a Swiftblade, and then you immobilize him, he just spins out and he doesn't even care. So, meanwhile, we're going to see a bunch of hunting going on by both teams as each side is in the other's jungle, and more coordination going on here, I think, on the Hellborn side, with Glacius now going to find Grinix, and there's a Rev Ward going down, and so the Riftstock's not going to do much. Meanwhile, and there's there's a Bloodlust kill right there coming out for TZP, and obviously a good start for them, especially for that short laner who I assume is going to be Ganal, who's now going to have a pretty substantial advantage over Grinix, as he actually has a negative gold per minute. Nope, it's going to be Slither mid, and it looks like they're going to run this tri-lane top with Devour, which is a fairly decent move. Legion is responding with a man-up tri-lane of their own, I think, and Grinix is going to be in that solo short lane on bottom against Kraken. This is a lane that Kraken's going to win, because Grinix cannot kill him. The splash auto attack is going to do some damage, and of course, you know, Grinix has taken a death already, which means he's late to the lane, and Kraken has some levels on him, or some experience on him. So I expect this to be free from here for Kraken. Meanwhile, up top in this tri-lane, Fisher came out, but obviously didn't grab anything. So we've got two heroes here that have, you know, stuns or pseudo-stuns with that immobilized from Glacius on top of the Debo hook. So if somebody comes out of position here on the Legion side, they could die quite easily. On the other hand, Dev's not going to be able to get to the creep wave and get farmed too easily because he is melee, and he's going to take a lot of harassment from Master and Corrupted if he gets too close. They're also going to lose lane control here, so that's a bit of a problem. Meanwhile, on bot, Kraken's going on Grinix as he's forcing him to take another tree. It's just going to be rough down here for Fabelli. It's probably not even worth it to do this, because if they had run this tri-lane top against Fabelli, unless they got a rev board down, and I assume they would, they wouldn't be able to kill him basically, because even if the hook comes in, he can basically just ripstock, just smash that ripstock button, and he wouldn't die. And then the tri-lane and bot wouldn't have the greatest time against Kraken, but Kraken would essentially be completely forced out of lane. Of course, the only problem with that is that it would likely end up being a waste of time for both supports here for Legion side. So, so far I'd say things are slightly favoring Hellborn, as I think, even though they've lost lane control here, their tri-lane is slightly better. Especially there's the Immobilize on Corrupted and Nerot, and the stun actually comes out and he's going to save him on top of the Fork Lightning, and now Torture's in a fair bit of trouble. So they have to use all their abilities defensively, and Mana Battery on Devour is going to keep him in mana, but not enough for the hook quite yet. But he's going to take a Clarity Pot to prevent that, and allow his hook to eventually come out. Meanwhile on bot, Kraken's chasing down this Grinix once again. In middle lane, it looks like we have a victory for Slither here, as so far as he's 13-3 against an 11-3 levels. So a slightly better creep form here for Slither, but not too much. He does have a more substantial experience lead. Actually, he doesn't. He has an experience lead, not too much, as of course he was part of that early kill. Poison Spray comes out in bubbles, and he's going to take quite a lot of damage. But Slither's actually in a ton of trouble here. A couple more auto attacks and he's dead, but he takes bottle charges as well as the health pot, and he's going to live. Up top, meanwhile, the Fisher comes out onto Glacius, but that's going to be on the wrong side, and that's the problem with Behemoth right there, is that if that's a hero with a different stun, that's a dead Glacius. But since the Fissure blocked really anybody from getting across it and killing the Glacius, he was able to survive. Now, on the other side, if Glacius was on the other side of the Fissure, then, of course, there was no way he was going to escape, so, you know, that's sort of the problem, is you want kills, you want heroes that can guarantee kills, not just give you all or nothing. You'd rather have the more consistent performance, and he doesn't really give you that. Meanwhile, Corrupted is certainly getting the better end of the farm here at 15-6 against an 11-1 Devourer. So, Bray obviously having a better time than PubTrain. But, you know, that's not really the point of the tri-lane ever, is to do that. You usually want to get kills. No kills coming out so far really is bad news for both teams, as their farm is going to suffer quite a bit. And if you look at the levels, it's pretty obvious. Level 5 Kraken and Slither versus 2-2-3, and level 5 Bubbles and Grinix versus 3-2-3. So, certainly favorable levels coming out here, as it's an illusion actually on Behemoth, and that the real Behemoth is going to trap this Devourer. Doesn't have Rot on anymore, but he should be able to just run away from this. As the chain reactions come out, actually he's going to die, and he's going to try to take Behemoth with him, but it's not going to happen, as Glacius feeds himself, trying to kill that Behe and just completely not being able to. Proven their stun up on Master in a second, and that's going to be a dead Torture. So, clean up here by Legion team, getting 3 kills, losing nobody, and they're all relatively well off. Behe, of course, taking a health pot. Master and Corrupted don't have any mana, but they can fix that situation relatively quickly. There's a health pot goes on to Corrupted, get him some health back. So, this Hellborn tri-lane is not working very well. And I wonder if the decision to run a tri-lane might not have been the best one. If you put Torture or Glacius up here with Behe, it would be difficult to kill. And meanwhile, actually, Fabelli gets a kill onto Kraken despite the ultimate coming out. So there's the Kraken that just gets released, but with the Grinix ultimate, he did way too much damage to Kraken, and that's just a misplay from Kraken there. He should be winning this lane handily, and he's not. He's actually now just below Fabelli's GPM, so he was winning the pre-farm battle at 37-2 versus 30-1 on that Grinix. Of course, the kill changed that equation quite a lot. Going to middle, Bubbles is very low, throws out a Shell Surf, and Slither will go to top rune, hoping it spawns top. 250 gold on Slither at 24 and 4, 256 gold on Bubbles at 25 and 3. So relatively even up here, and actually Behemoth is going to block out Slither and grab the DD, as Corrupted is being left up here, and they're not going to initiate on him, so there's nobody here, and they should know that because they have wards all over the place, but Corrupted's just not in a position where he can get hooked in, or even stunned or ice imprisoned, so that's going to be difficult for him. Ward over here will spot Master, so there's no shadiness going on there. Meanwhile, as the hook misses, meanwhile in middle, Slither's going to get taken down thanks to the Calfield, Shell Surf, and Song of the Sea. So good gank here from Fabelli on Grinix, and they're going to pick off a kill on Slither. Up here, Corrupted's playing real froggy, putting a bunch of damage out. He is awfully fast. He's got 426 gold per minute with those Ghost Marchers activated, so he can, in many situations just run away even if he gets hooked in, if they're not on point with that ice imprisonment and the chain reactions, which does have a substantial cast time. It's possible he could just literally run out of the anything. So Legion really winning all three lanes now, as Fabelli's going to go right back in on Kraken and do a bunch of damage to him. There's the Shadow Step. It's not going to stun, so this Torrent Charge is available, but there's the Grinix ultimate, and he's going to try to put him in a position to find. Actually, Release the Kraken comes out, and Fabelli's dead, so good play there from Kraken. Eating damage, giving Fabelli the impression that he was going to be able to get a kill, and then turning it around with the ultimate. Certainly solid play there. Bubbles looks like he was going to try to come in and pick him off with a Shell Surf, but plenty of health on Kraken, and Owned Me missed anyways. A hook misses on top. Another Clarity Pop coming out for Devourer, as he's not hitting these hooks particularly well. And he's actually going to lose this pot here as it gets knocked off by an Archer. So, pretty much across the board, a slightly better time here for the Legion side. Kraken has the highest farm in the game. Meanwhile, over here, Master of Arms isn't going to get caught. Fissure comes out to try to stop everything, but it's not going to hit anything. He actually gets denied by Behemoth. The hook somehow missed everybody. So that was a pretty great Fissure stun, and then a really nice deny there from Behemoth. And he manages to get away. Pretty excellent play, I'd say, actually. Grinix is coming in here invisible, and they have tons of vision here. Of course, it comes with the ward. There's the Kelpfield on top of the Shell Surf, and Slither's going to go down. Glacius is in the time of trouble. He's going to die. There's the Ice Imprisonment, but is it going to be enough? No, as the Bubbles Illusions actually get the final auto attack. Grinix and Bubbles are chasing down this Kraken, going to try to get a kill. Bottle Charge is being consumed all over the place. There's a Shadow Step, not going to stun. Torrent comes out on top of the Splash auto attack, and Grinix can take a bunch of damage. And Kraken is sort of running around here like, I'm tanky, are you going to be able to kill me before I can actually kill you? Shell Surf goes out, he's going to port. There's a Torrent coming out of the Felled Belly, and he's not going to die thanks to the tower actually switching targets. Chain Reaction's going to hit in Bubbles, and he's going to get taken out. Meanwhile, Master's in a terrible position. Slither's actually coming here, and Master might be able to avoid this if he runs the correct direction, and he certainly will. Corrupted, meanwhile, pulls in Behemoth, and he's going to die. Corrupted Cyber Ultimate goes off, though, and they're going to actually ult onto Corrupted, and he's now going to die, too, thanks to the Rot and the, well, everything, but nope. Wow. That Corrupted Conduit, man. That Corrupted Conduit took all of his damage. Literally took all of his damage. So great play there from Beret, using Corrupted Conduit to basically prevent the other hero and Devour there. Yeah, as Pub Train, actually, that's great. So the Rot did almost enough on its own, but not quite enough to kill that Corrupted. Meanwhile, in top, I guess once again, because bottom has nothing, Kraken's just free farming as Grinix has left the lane, and middle is a bit of a standoff, as so there's free farming here, but it looks like up top, there's a hook on Master, he's going to die despite the Fissure. Another Chain Reaction coming out to lock him down, as well as the Tundra Blast, I believe, got the kill. Grenix opens up the wrist stock here. Is he going to put in the Shadow Step? No, he's not. There's too much support here for the Hellborn side, and Krupp is all the way back here. So, looking at the game in general right now, 2,000 golden experience lead for the Legion side as a result of really winning this Shrine Lane. That's, I think, most of where that comes from. Hook just going to miss Behemoth there. This bot tower is getting pushed in quite hard by Kraken enough to pop the glyph, but it won't be dead quite yet. He's got a cannon coming up, so this wave actually should be able to finish it off unless the Legion decides to put some support in. And middle tower is just under half health, and it looks like Bubbles has a similar idea to try to kill this. Mid tower, certainly interested in pushing it down a little bit. Up on top, though, that seems where all the action's going to be, as we've got 4 heroes here from the Hellborn and almost 5 from the Legion side. Counter-warding, a bunch of counter-warding going on. I believe that was a missed hook. Yeah, I think he hooked his teammate. As Kraken finally takes the bottom tower down, all these wards of Rev gonna get countered, and a ward of Sight getting countered by 1 ward of Rev here from Master of Arms. So he puts 1 ward down, and actually it pays for itself with 2 Rev wards and a ward of Sight, totaling 100 gold. For some reason they put a 2nd ward of Rev down here, even though they already had 1 in range, so I really don't know what the point of that was, but hey. So Legion knows exactly what's going on here. They know how aggressive they can be, and that is not very aggressive because there's 4 heroes up here for Hellborn. Corrupted's Electric Tide comes out, and I don't think it hit anybody. It might have hit Dev. He doesn't care all that much because there's a Energizer goes up as they prevent him from doing anything. Master's over here in a bit of a sketchy position, as in middle, meanwhile, Kraken goes down, as they just dive the tower, put the Kelphill down, and there's double damage Grenix. It's going to finish him off. This mid tower is also going to go down, thanks to that DD Grenix.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
Up on top, Devour's finally getting some free farm. He's just put himself over 300 GPM. But the Legion side has 3 farmers over anybody on the Hellborn, with Grenix, Crypt Disciple, and Bubbles all out farming everybody. Bubbles, of course, 350 gold per minute. That's the highest in the game. Shifts, Shadow Step comes out, plus the Ripstock and the double damage, killing Grenix, that Glacius, as both Slither and Torture also die relatively quickly. So a 5-man gang squad up here, picking off 3 of the Hellborn heroes, and the Legion extends their lead to 4k golden experience. And it looks like Bray and the Crypt Disciple will come right back to the lane and farm it. So it looks like Dev's over here looking for a hook. I don't think Crypt has really got a strong angle on him here. I'm not sure. Oh, nice hook there, pulling him right back over there. And there's the ultimate from Devourer. Are we going to see? No, yeah, Energizer, but there's a charge there, and that's not going to be nearly enough to get Bray out of there, as a great hook comes out from Pub Train, and they pick up a kill on Bray, so that's pretty necessary. Got to shut down that opposing carry and get some farm up here on Devourer and Kraken, who are really your main sources of damage at this point. Slither's doing pretty well, but until she gets those right clicks in, she's not going to be as much damage as that Torrent, Charge, Splash, and then of course all the rot damage that comes out from Dev. So it looks like Hellborn's interested in taking this top tower, and Pale Nut comes out on top of the cannon, and they've got plenty of creep support as well. Acid Bomb comes out from Master of Arms. That's going to stop some stuff, but I don't think it's going to be enough to prevent this tower from getting pushed in, and it'll probably die at this point. Meanwhile, double 3 forts actually, so the entire Legion team is coming in here as Torrent charges away, and there's Glacius dead in about a half a second. Kraken's in quite a lot of trouble, as Corrupted is extremely fast and has everything, and that final auto attack from Bubbles will kill him, and then the top tower gets sniped. So nice play there from Legion, waiting till Hellborn was committed to killing that tower before porting in, and then picking off a couple of kills on Glacius and Kraken, and dying the tower, as Rebellion opens up onto, so they're here. We add the Song of the Sea and, well, everything. But there's an ultimate on top of a hook for Rebellion. If Rebellion's going to die, Kelpfield comes out, last auto attack, going to pick off, so there is, Bubbles goes down. So that was a good thought initially. Bubbles having his blue keep picking up, one needed killing the opposing team's carry, really, and Solid initiation, but there was too much response there from the Hellborn team supporting Slither, and they pick off 2 kills in exchange for pink. Up top, they're going to be pushing from Corrupted, but Kraken's going to defend this, and that's Bray's cue to run away. Run away, little Bray. In middle, Creepway pushing in, but Master's going to drop an acid bomb here in a second, I assume, and that's going to pretty much prevent everything, or maybe he'll just take the auto attacks. There's Fork Lightning, in fact, to pick off Creepway. As he only got a couple of those CS, but not a big deal. Yeah, he'd buy. Up on top, Corrupted and Kraken once again going at his Kraken tries to prevent this top tower push, and obviously will be successful in doing so. As Dev picks up a portal key, so there's some good initiation there. Being able to jump in as Dust of Revelation comes off, and Hook's not going to hit Grinix, so didn't actually have his portal key yet. It's been purchased, but it's in the base. Speaking of items, Master of Arms on boots and Mana Battery, a couple minor totems, so nothing much there. Eventually going to be Power Supply, I assume. Behemoth's got that Power Supply. It looks like he's going for an Amulet of Exile and boots. Bubbles' portal key, Power Supply, Gravelocket, and Striders, so not a great boots. They're a little interesting as on bot, so there's a ton of trouble. Puts up the Poison Spray, tries to take down Master of Arms, but the Behemoth Ultimate and the Fork Lightning kill him pretty quickly. Master of Arms should be okay here, yeah. So,
now then.
Oh, sorry, as in middle, Bray gets taken out by the Devourer portal key on top of Kraken and the Torrent. So I think actually the hook is what killed him there, but might have gone earlier. Kelp filled on 2 here, but there's a release of Kraken in a pretty terrible position as it hits nobody. Torture is in a ton of trouble as the Grinix ultimate kills him and Kraken. It's going to chase Devourer down, and Glacius as well, actually. I'm kind of surprised they didn't go after him. Glacius is in a ton of trouble, buddy. There's a portal key to prevent him from going any further, and now he's dead. So, not surprising that he ended up getting picked off as well. Nice counter initiation there from Bubbles and Grinix after they dropped a bunch of stuff to kill Corrupted Disciple. Of course, a release of Kraken that pretty much missed everything didn't help, but I don't think it was I think Torture was dead anyway due to the Grinix ultimate, and it's possible Glacius was too. As the hook comes in on top of the portal key, but it only grabs Creep. And Slither's just sort of running in, and that's going to be his death. Poison Burst goes off onto 2, actually 3, as Behemoth got hit as well. But they're just going to run away and port. Chain Reactions missed anyway, as he jumps back and grabs the hook onto Panny, and now Trevelyan's in a ton of trouble as well. As Master of Arms dies to the Torrent, I believe, is what killed him. So it seems like every time one team gets a pick or 2, the other team counter initiates and actually ends up with more. A little interesting that way, but in the meantime, Bray's just free farming top. He has a light brand. I would assume it's going to be a Dawnbringer. Possibly Searing Light first and then into something.
Piece of cake.
Oh, as meanwhile, Bubbles is going to pick off this Torture. Chain Reaction miss, but the Weed Field kills him. Sorry. Corrupted up here is going to take this tower, but he might pay for it as the ultimate comes out from Devourer, and there's the Ice Imprisonment, and there's the hook, and now he's dead. So, he gets a tower kill, but dies in the process. It's a 22-12 hero kill lead. He's coming out here from Legion side, but not that prominent in terms of total golden experience. That's actually Glacius will get caught. Hook is going to miss once again, and they need to be real careful here because there's a Bubbles double damage rune as a portal key, and Song at Sea will finish him off. So I think Pub Train really needs to hit these hooks. Like, he's missing a lot of hooks. And it's not an easy thing to hit a lot of the time, but like, gotta hit more hooks than he has been. Especially with the portal key. As the Hellborn team looks to defend middle tower, they got 3 heroes grouped up here, 2 of them off to the side, trying to prevent anybody from noticing they're there. Kraken does have a portal key now, so they've got an Energizer Ray, the Teacher Steam Boots, Devourer with a Shaman's Headdress on top of his portal key Steam Boots, so he's relatively tanky. On the lead side we talked Corrupt Disciples, got that Energizer Ghost Marchers and a Light Brand, creating the typical Ghost Marchers Energizer build, on top of a helm with Black Legion, which will make him pretty tanky as well. As Bubbles actually goes Port Boots, so that's the reason for the Striders. He's got Post Haste, and that's going to allow him to move around quite a lot, of course, and not only farm, but pick heroes off to a lot of ganking, so I like that pickup, especially with the Portal Key. It makes him really the most mobile hero in the game. Maybe in any game. I'm not sure if how many more mobile heroes there are in this game, besides the Bubbles with Port Boots and Blink Dagger. So this bot tower is going to get heavily pressured if Fortification comes out, but it's going to be a tower kill if the Legion commits to it, as they've got 5 heroes here. The question is, are they going to commit to it? Because the Hellborn has also brought 5 heroes. And Dev needs to be careful of that Ask Bomb, of course, because that is hero damage and it will stop his Portal Key, so he needs to make sure he's not standing in it before he tries to PK. Looks like Legion was going to back off a little bit here, as we've got Corrupted counter warding. So, nicely done there. As Kraken's going to jump in and miss the charge onto Grinix, and this is going to be a cue for a counter initiation. There's a Shadow Step coming into the Master of Arms stun, and the Fissure, but Hook misses. Actually, Bubbles will be able to pour it out, but Fabelli is, Kraken's not going to have as much luck. Poison Spray's going to come out and hit too, as long with the Poison Burst. I believe that did hit Bubbles despite the take cover, as he jumps in, puts the Fissure down, but Bubbles, Crusader's on the wrong side of it. Shell Surf comes in, not going to pour it though. Hook onto Grinix. They see that was actually interesting with the power Portal Key. Torture's now in some trouble. There's a Shadow Step, and he's going to be dead. Ice Imprisonment coming out, but it's not going to be enough to stop him as the Legion Tower goes down. So, good fight there for the Legion side. It looked like the Hellborn wasn't really sure whether they wanted to initiate or not. Kraken jumping in there and missing the charge is obviously a major problem, but then it didn't look like Hellborn was going, okay, yeah, man, you're in there, we're going to back you up. It was like, oh, well, you're dead, that's too bad. And there's something to be said, certainly, for letting a guy who's dead die and not, feeding 3 more kills because you try to save him, as the, actually, Bubble's going to come in and put some harassment on Slither, but just put it away. Force a TP, I think that was probably not going to happen, but they were afraid that Slither was being initiated on again, as he seems to have died a lot. Yes, he's died 6 times. Glacius putting a ward down up here, but they're going to find Behemoths. Chain Reactions on top of this Ice Imprisonment. He's in some trouble. Bubbles comes in with the Shell Surf and the Song and Speed. That's going to be 2 kills. Dust of Revelation onto Grinix, and that's not going to be enough, though. Actually, second Dust gets caught by Slither. Up here, Bubbles gets caught by the ultimate from Bubbles, but he covers the hook, and there's the ultimate from Panzer, from Moa. So he's going to jump over here, try and prevent everything. Behemoth ultimate coming out on top of that Portal Key that he also just picked up. HoN Jesus does die, but also Devour joins him in the afterlife. Over here, Bubbles actually buys back, Portal Key's right back in, and they pick off Kraken, so that's going to be a wipe. It's technically not a genocide because Torture and Glacius did respawn, but it was effectively 5 hero kills. So, buyback on Own Me, and I believe they're going to push in this middle tower here, as there's really no resistance from the Hellborn side. They can pretty much take this without anybody doing anything about it, and Torture really needs to be careful here, because if he's not, he's going to get picked off by somebody. Shell Surf goes out to him, Creep Wave, and that's going to be a dead tower. At this point, TZP is pretty far behind, and with Bray at 419 gold per minute, and Bubbles at 416, and Fabelli at 400, it's going to be awfully difficult for them to come back, especially because, looking at the GPM charts, all 3 of those heroes are above everybody in the Hellborn team, and Devour's the only one that has really even decent farm. 250 gold per minute on Kraken's not very good at all. Rishdock comes in, and Glacius is dead. Boy, he dies quick. So Bray picks up the kill on Glacius, as once again he dies. 8 deaths for Glacius, 6 deaths for Torturer, 7 for Kraken, as they're going to call the GGs here, and that's going to be game. So, pretty, obvious lane combinations, I guess, from both sides here. It's a little interesting they chose to run the aggressive tri lane. Ended up working out quite well for them on Legion's side, of course, picking up those 3 kills relatively early on, basically won in the tri lane, and then Pub Train unable to hit hooks on a lot of heroes. So there's some pretty certainly better play coming out here from the Legion side, and I think their draft is a little better as well. Using that Corrupted Disciple carry over Slayer, he will carry harder. And then, yeah, I didn't really like the Behemoth pick, but he ended up doing pretty well, and eventually managed to get that Portal Key, like I said. There's a really critical item on him. And once he got that, they'd already won basically, but certainly didn't hurt. So, solid series, I think, really from both teams. All the games were relatively quick, with Team KAGE taking pretty dominant victories in 1 and 3, and TZP taking a dominant victory in Game 2. So, apparently there's some value in being Legion, as Legion did take all 3 games in this series. So TZP gets knocked out at this point, but Team KAGE will move on. And that's going to be it for